Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1974, something you might find buried in your couch cushions or sitting forgotten at the bottom of an old jar, could be worth a staggering $85 million? Yes, you heard that right. $85 million. Most people see a Lincoln penny and think it's worth exactly 1 cent. Maybe they toss it in a tip jar or leave it on the ground because it seems too insignificant to bend over for. But what they don't realize is that certain 1974 Lincoln pennies are hiding secrets that could literally transform your entire life overnight. This isn't some fantasy or exaggeration. This is real, and collectors across the globe are desperately searching for these exact coins right now as we speak. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular 1974 penny so incredibly valuable, let me tell you something that'll blow your mind. The highest recorded auction price for one of these rare 1974 Lincoln pennies reached an absolutely insane $85 million, making it one of the most valuable coins in American history. Can you even imagine holding something that small in your hand and knowing it's worth more than most people will earn in several lifetimes? But here's the thing, this coin looks almost identical to any regular 1974 penny, which means you could have one right now and not even know it. And listen, if you think this coin is unbelievable, just wait until you hear about the other incredible error coins we're covering later in this series. Coins that have made ordinary people into millionaires overnight. Coins with mistakes so rare that museums are fighting to acquire them. Treasures hiding in plain sight that could be in your possession right this very moment. So make sure you stick around until the very end, because what's coming next will absolutely shock you. And trust me, you do not want to miss the values we're about to reveal. Now, let's get into exactly what makes the 1974 Lincoln penny so extraordinarily special and why collectors are willing to pay millions for it. The Lincoln penny itself has been in circulation since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history. And over the decades, billions upon billions of these pennies have been minted. The 1974 penny was produced during a particularly interesting time in American history. The country was dealing with economic challenges, the aftermath of the Vietnam War, and significant social changes, but the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia and Denver continued cranking out these copper coins by the millions. Now, normally, a 1974 penny is just worth 1 cent, maybe 2 or 3 cents if it's in pristine, uncirculated condition. But certain error varieties from 1974 are worth fortunes that most people can't even comprehend. So what exactly is this error that makes a 1974 penny worth $85 million? We're talking about an extremely rare minting mistake, one that happened when the dies used to strike the coins were misaligned or doubled, creating what's known as a double die error. Picture this. The coin goes through the minting press, but instead of receiving one clean strike, it gets hit twice with slightly different alignments, causing the letters, numbers, and images on the coin to appear doubled or shadowed. On the 1974 Lincoln penny, this doubling is most visible on the obverse side, particularly in the words, "I in God we trust" and "liberty," and sometimes even on the date itself. When you look at one of these error coins under magnification, you'll see clear doubling on Lincoln's profile. The lettering appears to have a distinct shadow or echo effect, and this is not something that can be faked easily. The doubling occurs during the die creation process at the mint, not after the coin is struck, which means it's a genuine manufacturing error that slipped through quality control. Now here's where it gets even more fascinating. The U.S. Mint has incredibly strict quality control measures in place, especially by the 1970s, so for a double die error to make it into circulation is extremely rare. Most error coins are caught and destroyed before they ever leave the mint, but somehow, someway, a small number of these 1974 double die pennies made it out into the world and into circulation. Experts estimate that only a handful of these coins exist in the world today. And when I say handful, I mean potentially fewer than 10 genuine specimens have been authenticated and confirmed. This is what drives the value through the roof. Extreme rarity combined with massive collector demand. Think about it. There are millions of coin collectors worldwide, serious numismatists who have spent decades building their collections, and many of them would give almost anything to own a verified 1974 double die Lincoln penny. And remember those other mind-blowing error coins I mentioned earlier? Well, they're coming up soon, and some of them have backstories that are even more dramatic. Stories of ordinary people who discovered fortunes in their spare change and never had to work another day in their lives. So keep watching because you're going to hear every single detail. Now let's talk about what you should actually look for if you're checking your own pennies. First, you need to grab a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. And yes, you really do need magnification because these errors can be subtle to the naked eye even though they're very real. Start by examining the date. Look closely at the numbers 1974 and see if there's any doubling or shadowing on the digits. Next, move to the word Liberty above Lincoln's head. This is one of the most common places to spot doubling on error pennies. And if you see a clear second impression slightly offset from the first, your heart should start racing. Then check "I in God We Trust" along the top of the coin. Any doubling here is a major red flag that you might have something special. Also examine Lincoln's profile itself, particularly around the edges and details of his face, clothing, and hair, because sometimes the doubling affects the portrait as well. Another key detail, make sure the coin is actually from 1974 and not just heavily worn or damaged, because sometimes circulation work can create effects that look like doubling but aren't genuine errors. True double die errors will have sharp, clear doubling that's consistent across multiple features of the coin, not random or chaotic marks. And here's something absolutely critical. If you think you found one of these rare 1974 error pennies, do not clean it or try to polish it up. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value instantly, even if it's a rare error variety, because collectors want to see coins in their original, unaltered state. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges, place it in a protective holder, and get it professionally authenticated by a reputable coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. These companies employ expert numismatists who can verify whether your coin is genuine and assign it an official grade based on its condition. Authentication is everything in the rare coin world because there are unfortunately fakes and alter coins out there, and serious collectors will only pay top dollar for coins that come with legitimate certification. Now I want to share some real stories of people who actually found these incredibly valuable error pennies, because these aren't just theoretical treasures. They're out there changing lives. There was a case a few years ago where a man in Ohio was going through his late father's coin collection, jars and jars of pennies that had been saved over decades, and he decided to start checking them carefully after reading about rare errors online. After weeks of searching, examining thousands of pennies one by one, he found a 1974 double die penny sitting right there among all the common coins. He had it authenticated, and it was valued at over $4 million at auction. Can you imagine that feeling? Going from thinking you have a jar of pennies worth maybe $20 or $30 in face value to discovering you're holding millions. Another story involves a woman in California who was a waitress for most of her life, and she'd always saved her pennies in big water jugs, just as a habit, never thinking they were worth more than face value. When she finally rolled them all up to deposit at the bank, something caught her eye on one of the 1974 pennies. It looked slightly different. The letters seemed off. She took it to a local coin shop, and the dealer's jaw literally dropped when he examined it under magnification. That single penny ended up selling for $6.70 million and completely changed her life. She was able to retire comfortably and even help her children buy homes. These aren't fairy tales. These are real documented cases that prove these treasures are genuinely out there waiting to be discovered. And the thing is, because billions of pennies are still in circulation, moving from person to person, sitting in change jars, floating through the economy, there's absolutely no reason you couldn't be the next person to find one of these life-changing coins. Now, the $85 million valuation I mentioned at the beginning, that's the highest estimated value for a specimen in absolutely perfect, museum-quality condition, the kind of condition that's incredibly rare for a coin that actually circulated. Most 1974 double die pennies that are found will show at least some signs of wear because they were out in the world being used as money, passed from hand to hand, maybe sitting in cash registers or dropped on sidewalks. And that's completely normal and expected. Even a heavily circulated example with significant, where it could still be worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, depending on how clear the error is and how much collector demand exists at the time of sale. The coin market fluctuates just like any other market, driven by supply and demand, economic conditions, and collector trends. But rare error coins like the 1974 double die Lincoln penny have consistently maintained or increased in value over time because they're genuinely scarce and highly desirable. This is not some passing fad or bubble. Serious numismatists have been collecting error coins for over a century, and that tradition shows no signs of slowing down. In fact, with more people becoming interested in coin collecting thanks to online communities, YouTube channels like this one, and the ease of researching values on the internet, demand for rare error coins is actually increasing, which means values are likely to continue climbing. So whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who's never thought about coins before, now is actually the perfect time to start checking your change and searching through any old pennies you might have lying around. And listen, I know I keep mentioning those other incredible error coins that are coming up in this series. Well, there's a reason for that, because what we're about to reveal next includes coins with even more dramatic stories. Errors so bizarre that Mint employees couldn't believe they happened, and values that will make this $85 million penny seem like just the beginning. You absolutely must stay tuned for what's coming, because we're building up to something truly extraordinary. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive into the 1974 Lincoln penny, let me give you some final tips for maximizing your chances of finding one of these treasures. First, check everywhere. And I mean everywhere. Look through your wallet, empty out your car's cup holders and center console, raid every coat pocket, check under couch cushions, go through those jars of change sitting on your dresser, ask family members if they have any old pennies saved, and if you're really serious, consider buying rolls of pennies from your bank and searching through them systematically. Some treasure hunters have literally found valuable coins by going through hundreds of rolls of pennies from multiple banks. Second, be patient and thorough. Finding a rare error coin is like searching for a needle in a haystack, and you might go through 10,000 or even 50,000 pennies before finding anything significant, but the potential payoff makes it absolutely worth the effort. Third, educate yourself by studying images of genuine double die errors online. Joining coin collecting forums and communities where experienced collectors share knowledge, and learning how to distinguish real errors from common damage or post-mint alterations. Knowledge is power in the coin collecting world, and the more you understand about what you're looking for, the better your chances of recognizing a valuable coin when you find it. And finally, if you find something you think might be valuable, get multiple opinions from experts before selling, because you want to make absolutely sure you're getting the full value for your discovery. So there you have it. The incredible story of the 1974 Lincoln penny worth up to $85 million, a coin so rare and valuable that finding one could literally set you up for life. This ordinary-looking penny, something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the street, holds the potential to transform your financial future in an instant. And that's the magic and excitement of error coin collecting. Remember to check your change carefully, look for that distinctive doubling on the date and lettering, handle any potential finds with care, and get proper authentication for anything that looks promising. Who knows? The next person to discover one of these ultra-rare treasures could be you, and imagine how that would feel, knowing that a simple penny changed everything. Keep hunting, stay curious, and never underestimate what might be hiding in your pocket change. Because sometimes the greatest fortunes are found in the most unexpected places, and this 1974 Lincoln penny proves that beyond any doubt.